Hello guys, Dr. here, and today, since I haven't been able to analyze a lot of units lately, I figured it would be a good idea to basically make up for all the units I was never able to analyze. So this includes very old units like Bologna. I had to skip this one because of personal issues. So we are gonna go through this very fast, since Bologna is already available on global. There's already not too much point to what I'm making right now because, well, I figured most people have already figured out how units work, even the newest on CN. Still, I think it's a decent idea to try and analyze what's coming up and what we could expect from all the units that are available, even when people already have enough time to test them. So Bologna, I have no idea about this guy. The only thing I can think of is the S2 that has a lot of defense shred because, well, it applies the Talents 1 defense reduction 8 times, and the defense reduction is 7%, so we are talking about an 8 times 7 defense shred, which is actually quite a lot. That's like 56% defense reduction. That's actually ginormous. Also, the module increases the target's defense reduction to 8%. So this becomes 8 times 8, which is 64% defense reduction, which, I don't know, in IS I feel like this has the potential to be extremely powerful. I'm not too sure, like in IS5 with the Hand of Rending, because, well, historically it's one of the worst hands. I'm not too sure about this, but I don't know, if there are some bosses in IS7 that like have a lot of defense and you want to tackle them with a physical team, then sure, he can be your guy that reduces the defense and stuff. It entirely depends on what you want for specific bosses. If you want physical damage, you want arts damage, if you simply want damage, like for example the 4th boss of IS6, you don't need physical or arts, you just need damage, so it depends, but I feel like this is really good. It's kind of weird that he is relegated as a support, but it is what it is. Alright, so the unit that was introduced with Bologna is Repressa. So Repressa is an AoE caster, off to a great start. Honestly, I could probably stop the analysis here, but let's just continue for the sake of an argument. So Repressa is very interesting because she has 2 skills with low cooldown, which begs the question, why do you want this? Like, usually you have one with a low cooldown and one with a higher cooldown, so you have the choice depending on the stages, but here it's kind of weird. So the whole shtick about this unit is that she deals more damage if at least 3 units are hit with the AoE, which is already kind of weird because you want units to be very much together. Like if you've used, for example, S2 Angelina Alter or something, so yeah, we're gonna recruit Angelina Alter, who is a bad supporter, and then we're gonna recruit Repressa, who is a bad caster. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. So the S1 has, the next attack has increased splash area and deals more damage. Okay, sure, so it increases the chance to hit at least 3 units, I guess, but... And S2 also increases the splash area, deals damage to 3 targets, and all enemies struck by this attack take a DOT. So the DOT is not uninteresting, I guess. Like, there's a lot of stages where the DOT can be actually pretty useful. The main issue is that all good casters have a way to inflict DOT. Like, maybe not Mantra, but like Promanix can with a passive, a GG and Lapland Alter can with the S3, so it's one of the worst classes to put a DOT on, so yeah, I'm afraid this will probably never see play. I guess you can be happy with that if you get her in a free recruitment voucher. It's not a bad unit per se, just as is the case of many 5-stars and 430, these are not bad units, but you can't justify the hope cost in order to recruit them. That's unfortunate. Alright, so next we have Afrisa. So now we are purely in CN operators. So Afrisa is a blast caster, a 6-star blast caster, the second one after Ifrit. And she can use a repeater that allows her to change the direction of her attack, which, okay, sure, that's usually not the issue with blastcasters. Like, you would think blastcasters were with Ifrit that they don't have any issue. No, blastcasters have a lot of issues. It's just that Ifrit is extremely strong. Like, she can inflict elemental damage, she can reduce the defense, she can reduce the resistance. Like, basically she can do her job, damage, damage over time too with hers too, and act as a support with the elemental damage and the defense shred. So when you think about it, Ifrit's kit is loaded, but blast casters are really bad. Like, honestly, it's a really bad archetype. Also, her second talent is operators in attack range ignore 13 resistance. What the actual fuck is that? That's supposed to be a 6-star talent? Huh? Alright, so S1 is an infinite duration that increases the attack and also gives the repeater infinite duration. So it's a fire and forget type of skill where you simply deploy the limiter wherever you want, and then you wait 35 seconds, which is actually not that much for an unlimited duration skill, and then you get attack plus 165% and you call it a day. The S2 is the attack are changed to fires an infinitely long beam in a straight line ahead, dealing 150% of attack as arch damage every 0.5 seconds for 8 seconds, so 16 instances of damage, and the beam's direction can be redirected by friendly operators. So you don't necessarily need the repeater for this one, you just need like friendly operators. I guess again, if you want some damage over time, then yeah, she can inflict 16 instances of damage. I believe this is enough to kill most Ling event enemies, not all of them actually. I think there are some that have like 20 HP or something, but I mean, that's still quite a lot, so I don't know, it might be a consideration if, for example, there are stages where Ling event enemies come in a straight line. You could, for example, theoretically imagine this with a nasty tile in IS6 ending 5, but that's just so much work for so little reward, where you can simply like recruit Pramanix, Angelina Alter, this kind of stuff, so yeah, no. Hopefully there are stages. I mean, Afrisa was released for IS7 the same way Lazy Alter was released for IS6, so hopefully the configuration of some maps in IS7 is pretty good for Afrisa, but other than that, she has a lot of competition, that's the main issue. So anyway, skill 3 is upon activation, stops attacking for 3 seconds, recalls all repeaters and refreshes the deployment cooldown. Attack interval is significantly reduced, so it's reduced by 1.1 second, which is actually not that high because blastcasters have an attack of 2.9 seconds, so it's still 1.8, so it's still pretty slow. Attack plus 145%, attacks deal 200% of attack as arts damage, okay, so there's a double multiplier there, and slows the target for 0.4 seconds. What the is that supposed to be slow? If an attack passes to a repeater, it deals an additional 30% of attack as arts damage and extends the slow duration by 0.4 seconds. Yay. Alright, so she inflicts a slow of 0.8, which is inferior to a diesel binder, and she deals quite a lot of damage, I guess, for a duration of oh shit, there's no duration, it's only ammos, so 20 ammos with an ASPD of 1.8, so that's like 36 seconds duration or something. And the skill cost is 40, okay, so it's basically 50% of time, more or less. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I guess this one is for damage, this one is for like AFK, and the S2 is for damage over time. So yeah, I suppose she has a little bit of everything, but still, it seems weird because the repeater is there to make her kit that looks very novel, very something fresh, something new, and yet all I can think when I see the kit is how basic this is. Honestly, because like we have seen the mechanic of quote-unquote redirection. We know about this. There's the Twiddingstoma im Herbst event, I think it's this one. So releasing an operator that does pretty much the same is, yeah, kind of novel, I guess, but at the same time really not. I feel like most of her skills are very, very similar, and that's something I really don't like. Honestly, there's no range increase except for the repeater, no horizontal range increase. She has like a slow, I guess she can like give some resignor to some allies, but at the same time she's a blastcaster, so it's really hard to make use of this. I guess with the repeater you can send the beam to an ally, and yeah, no, I'm really not too fond of this operator. I guess it's really map dependent because, well, she's a blastcaster, so obviously it's kind of map dependent. But between her and Ifrit, is there like any chance I would want to pick her instead of Ifrit? No. Like, unless IS-7 is Giga Shield for this unit specifically, I don't want to recruit this unit even once in my life compared to at least half a dozen other casters. Like Hoheyak, Mantra, Lapland Alter, Golden Glow, Pramanix Alter. Like, there's so many good casters, why would you want this? It's not even that good of a debuff, like 13 resistance? I mean, I might as well recruit, I don't fucking know, like, I think Ifrit has a resistance shred or something. No, honestly, I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it. Oh yeah, I forgot about the module, which changes the direction of her attacks and increases their range by 2. I guess she has more range with the repeater, but like, this seems like so much work for so little payoff. I'm sorry. It's like when you're playing a TCG and you have to like sacrifice 4 units to get one big unit that doesn't have a huge ass payoff. Like, why would you want to do that, honestly? Alright, and most importantly, she was released with Pedro, and Pedro is actually very, very interesting because it's a new archetype. It's a supportive ranger. So a supportive, what the fuck is a supportive ranger? It's a supporter, and it's a supporter that does 2 things. First, they deal actually quite a lot of damage because Pedro's attack is like more than 800 when fully maxed and max thrust. So it's actually pretty high for a supporter. And second of all, they use skills that enhances future actions of operators. So talent is very basic. When there are at least 2 allies in attack range, attack plus 12%. So I assume he is included. So it's very, since the range is extremely high, it's very easy to fulfill. So S1 is the next attack deals 135% damage, hits 2 targets, and applies a trigger effect. So the trigger effect is when the target takes then arts damage, they take additional arts damage equal to 220% of Pedro's attack. So basically, he puts some sort of like stack on an enemy, and whenever another ally attack the enemy with that stack, they will consume that stack to inflict additional damage. So it's basically inflicting damage with an extra stab, which is actually pretty interesting. So it's a supporter archetype that specializes in dealing damage, actually. I mean, that's what this one, because there's 2 is actually pretty different. So there's 2 applies a trigger-based effect with 3 operators within range. When HP fall below 50%, immediately restores HP equal to 210% of Pedro's attack and reduce the likelihood of being targeted for 8 seconds. So I'm not sure about the reduce the likelihood of being targeted. Does that mean they get camouflaged or simply that they lower their aggro? If it's lower their aggro, that's very interesting because there's not a lot of units that interact with aggro. So that's actually pretty cool. Essentially, the skill is basically like Saria S1, except that it's preemptive. So you already put the trigger on an ally, and whenever they fall below 50%, it will trigger. So again, pretty much like Saria S1, but in advance. And I feel like this unit is actually an extremely good unit. Like, every unit wants to deal damage, a lot of units wants to get healed, so I feel like this unit has potential, even somehow in IS, because like, supporter, yeah sure there's Tragodia and stuff, but like, as a 5-star, if there's a way to reduce the hope cost in IS-7, then, I don't know, Pedro has some potential, I would say. It's basically a bit like Podenko, because well, it's a supporter that has a skill that deals damage, quote unquote, and another one that heals. So I don't know, even if this unit is not quote-unquote playable, I would say that he certainly has potential, and I would wager that the 6-star representative of this unit might be something on crack, honestly. This is already a good unit. It deals good damage. I mean, the attack speed is pretty low, but it deals good damage. The attack range is extremely high. It's very versatile because it can both heal and deal damage. I don't know, I feel like this is, we are pretty much seeing like Podenko number 2, which doesn't seem impressive, but at the same time, that's probably for people who don't remember how powerful Podenko was, like for example in IS-2. So I think this unit has potential, particularly if you can reduce the hope cost, and I actually can't wait to see the 6-star representative of this archetype, because this seems extremely good between the range, the damage, the versatility and stuff. Yeah, extremely good. I'm really happy for this kind of unit because I feel like supporter were leaning lately actually way too much towards elemental damage, and I felt like it seemed lazy to me, like to have supporters only being these elemental damage infliction machines. I felt like it was a bit missing something, like we had lost the old supporter class slash archetype in favor of something that is like essentially purely a TPS but with more crowd control, and that inflicts a new type of damage. So yeah, I'm actually very happy to see this, very happy about this unit, and I hope we will get the 6-star representative soon. Alright, and next we have finally the Angelina Alter banner. So Angelina Alter is a 6-star Sky Ranger. Finally, this has been the archetype with no 6-star representative for the longest, at least lately. So talent 1 is she deals additional arts damage with her attack, which makes sense. And when she attacks enemies that have 3 or less weight, she deals even more damage. Also, she inflicts weightless when she's in takeoff. And second talent is when deployed, all allied units in takeoff gain attack plus 13% and recover plus 8% every second when blocking. So I'm not sure what that means, plus 8%. Like, does it simply like increase HP recovery? In this case, it's fucking useless. Or does it mean it's like 8% HP every second? In this case, it's absolutely bonkers, actually. It becomes the best global passive buff in the game. That seems a bit too strong. I assume it simply increases healing received, which is, I don't know. Actually, it's only when blocking, so no, it's probably actually 8% HP of the units when blocking, which is, I guess it's not that bad. Like, it's alright with stuff like Entelekia, because I assume it works with Entelekia, Hoshiguma Alter, because, well, she won't go into her red health bar too soon. Yeah, I guess. Also work with Chen Alter, because, well, Chen Alter usually recovers HP when she's not blocking. In this case, she would also recover HP when blocking, so yeah, I guess. It has some uses, probably. So skill 1 is Express Delivery, so it's a passive. After deployment, immediately takes off, attack plus 135%, attacks 2 enemies at once, and lasts 60 seconds. Okay, I think it's like Contrary's S1, pretty sure. Alright, S2 is Customized Gravity, which has a weird AoE, but sure. Attack range expands, glides forward, causing ground enemies within attack range to levitate for 12 seconds, and flying enemies to become grounded for 22 seconds. Afterwards, attack interval shortens, attack plus 165%, attacks deal arts damage, and attacks 5 enemies at once. So that's like a huge levitation slash grounding AoE, and then she becomes basically the original Angelina, but with way more range. This probably has some application somewhere. Being able to both levitate and ground enemies depending on what type of enemies they are is, yeah, definitely useful. You can interrupt basically the whole map. But from what I remember, from what I've seen, I'm pretty sure the S3 is where the source is. So S3 is Thoughts on Citrus. Immediately takes off, attack plus 30%, gains 65% anti-air sanctuary. Anti-air sanctuary, okay. So basically she reduces the damage of aerial unit by 65%, that's okay, sure. Attack range expands, the surrounding 8 tiles are considered Angelina's range. Attacks deal 380% of attack as physical damage to 3 enemies at once, plus 1 additional flying enemies. Flying enemies when in range have their movement speed reduced by 60%, so far this is actually pretty reminiscent of Contrary's S2. If there is an unblocked flying enemies within attack range and Angelina isn't blocking, move to the tile where the enemy is located. So this is basically Contrary's S2 on crack. So it's Contrary's S2 and the skill uses ammo, and Angelina will move to the location where the units are. So this is extremely powerful in I6 because of the ammo stuff, because of all the aerial units that can actually destroy you in the remnant of consciousness. Extremely powerful, extremely useful. Now this is a specialist, so she has to compete with a lot of very good units like Sway Alter, Exusia Alter, Ascalon, Wong, Ella. I tend to forget them. There's so many, but still, I feel like this has a lot of potential. Like this has only 6 SP of difference between the initial SP and the SP cost. 33 ammo is a fuck ton of ammo for this much damage. Again, attack plus 30%, axe deal 380% of attack as physical damage. That's enormous. Alright, so from what I can analyze there, you would use S2 when you want levitate, you would use S3 when you simply want damage, and you would use S1 when you're starting the game. Is that it? Yeah. So it's pretty good because, well, I assume S2 and S3 both have some uses. S2 only has like a 25 SP cost and a 21 initial SP, so it's pretty good. You can use this skill to interrupt some enemies immediately, like for example, the Sarkaz Grudge Bearers in IS-6. Also, from what I understand, the S2 doesn't inflict damage, so it's a levitation that doesn't inflict damage. That's actually pretty good in IS, particularly if you get, is it Grand Pharaoh? No, it's not Grand Pharaoh, like the item that increases the damage when enemies are in levitated state. So yeah, there's that. There's obviously the other synergies with the regular Angelina, with Hulheyak, with all this other stuff. So yeah, I would say to not dish this S2 too quick, because it seems like a pretty good skill if you want to use her as a support. Well, even if she, for example, if you only recruit her at E1, that's gonna be an extremely powerful skill for sure. At E1, skill level 7, 20 initial SP and 29 SP cost. That's actually pretty good. Like, that's actually pretty good. I'm pretty sure this S2 is actually pretty good. Also, the masteries don't do that much. They only increase the damage. So yeah, doesn't change the levitation, doesn't change the grounding duration, doesn't change the number of enemies hit. It's only for the attack power. So yeah, actually that's a very, very good S2, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it used with other levitation units. And overall, it's actually a pretty good skill if you're only using her at S2. And also keep in mind that unlike the first Angelina, this is actually a Sky Ranger, so she's also pretty much like a lane holder, and she has a decent attack. Like, she has at E1 max trust, she has 668 attack, which is actually decent. That's not even counting the potentials. Does she have a module? Okay, she doesn't have a module yet, but yeah, I would say that's an extremely good unit already. The only issue is that, well, she has to compete with all the other specialists, right? In my case, I won't use Wong, and that's about it, I would say. So in what case do you want her instead of Exusiai or instead of Ascalon? I'm actually not sure. Attack interval shortens with the S2. Oh, it doesn't say how much it shortens. That's actually annoying. But anyway, I would assume that's actually a decent unit against Link Event enemies, because, well, attack 5 enemies at once, attack interval shortens. What's the ASPD of... What's the attack interval of the Sky Ranger? It's 1.5. Shortens. Let's assume it's like 1 second. Okay, that's not as good as, well, the original Angelina with this, because, well, original Angelina inflicts damage every 0.5 seconds. But that's actually a pretty good thing, because, well, people are gonna shout, oh, pure power creep and stuff. No. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this S2 is really good. I feel like this S3 as well. Absurd in terms of damage, because, well, attacks deal 380% of attack as physical damage and attack plus 30%. So I'm not sure how much that is. Attack plus 30%, so I would assume from 836, the attack goes up to like 11 to 1200, and then attacks deal 380%, so that's like every attack inflicts 4000 damage or something. Yeah, that's actually insane. It's actually fucking insane. So yeah, S3, ammo synergy, big damage in single target, I assume. Oh no, to 3 enemies at once. Okay. And 1 additional flying enemy. Okay, so if there's a flying enemy, it's 4 enemies at once. But the attack range of Angelina is only the surrounding 8 ties. Okay. I don't know. S3 has a lot of utility for sure, and it's probably gonna deal more damage overall. Also, again, the ammo synergy in IS-6 are fucking stupid. It's probably gonna be used more than S2 for sure. But at the same time, keep in mind that there are very strong levitation relics. I really like the fact that she benefits from both levitation relics and ammo relics. That's actually pretty strong. Since she's a specialist, you probably want her if you actually want like a lane holder, I would say, which could be understood for sure. Like there are times where you simply want to recruit a specialist and you want it to be a lane holder. In IS6 it's a bit weird because there are so many specialists that are Yanis operators, and unfortunately Angelina isn't. In IS5 she doesn't benefit from any hand. I would assume in IS4, 3 and 2 she's fucking insane, like particularly in IS3 with all the flying enemies. In IS3 she's probably extremely strong, particularly since she can ground flying enemies and stuff, so yeah, extremely strong. I'm not too sure about IS6 honestly. I probably want to recruit Angelina Alter first since, well, she's Yanis, and if you're not a waifu only enjoyer like me, you probably want to recruit Wong, so she would come third after Wong and Angelina Alter, which is it's not that good when you put it this way, but again, I'm only basing this if we are only evaluating IS6, because in IS7 I assume there's not a lot of Yanis synergy, so in IS7 she's probably gonna be much more useful than in IS6, so it's hard to evaluate this unit right now because I'm evaluating it from the eyes of someone who plays IS6, which is not a good idea because, well, she's gonna get released during IS7 era. We'll see. I assume that without the Yanis synergy that Exusai and Wong provide, she's probably extremely strong. Alright, so with her we've got 3 other units, including 1 6-star. The 6-star is Thumpy. So Thumpy is a 6-star primal protector that specializes in corrosion, which is probably pretty dumb. But anyway, corrosion is already very, very bad because, well, corrosion is probably the elemental damage that is, in my opinion, never gonna see play in IS6, in IS in general, I would say, because, well, enemies have inflated defense in IS, and being able to reduce their defense by 120 or even 240 or even 360 is never gonna cut it. Unless the defense reduction starts hitting the 500 or even 1000, this is never gonna be useful. Alright, so talent 1 is reduce elemental injury taken by 15%. Okay, sure. When dealing physical damage, inflicts corrosion equal to 10% of attack and reduce the cooldown recovery of the target's corrosion by 1 second. Okay, so at least she allows to inflict corrosion more often, which is probably what corrosion needs, I would say. You want to inflict a lot of corrosion stacks, and this is one of the best way to inflict a lot of corrosion stacks. Talent 2 is whenever an enemy that has been damaged by this unit triggers a corrosion burst, gains 8 defense stacking 30 times. 8 defense stacking 30 times. Whenever you trigger okay, it's 30 times. That's quite a lot. And 250 barrier cannot exceed 300% of max HP. Okay. So yeah, the defense is kind of whatever, I would say, but the barrier is fine. 250 barrier. Every time you trigger corrosion burst on an enemy, you gain 250 barrier. Sure. It's a bit annoying because this doesn't stack with defense and stuff, so it's 250 flat barrier. I would have preferred if it was like a gain, I don't know, like 10% of her max HP or something, because this way it would have worked with the increased HP, defense and stuff that IS provides, so a bit annoying, but that's fine. What are her stats? She has like 3800 HP, 700 attack, and almost 600 defense. Does she have a module? She does have a module, okay. Module is she gains 450 HP, 80 attack, and no defense, okay. Whenever an enemy that's been damaged by the gains 12 defense, okay, so that's actually 1.5 as much, and she also gains attack and 400 barrier. That's a really, really strong module actually. It doesn't change fundamentally how she works, but it gives her much more defense, much more barrier, and even some attack. Okay, it's still 30 stacks, so in total that would be like 360 defense, 150 attack, and a maximum of 1200 barrier of HP. Okay, now we are starting to talk. Also, when she blocks enemy, she inflicts 15% more elemental injury. Okay, sure. Alright, let's see this one. Attack plus 50%, defense plus 50%, attacks all blocked enemies and pushes them away slightly. Pushes them away? What? Why the fuck would you want that? You literally want to block enemy to inflict more elemental injury. Okay, that's kind of retarded. I'm not gonna lie. This S1 seems kind of retarded. In the sense that it's really not good. Why would you want to push enemies away? Like, okay, I can understand. I could understand if, well, you would want to use her as a pusher, quote unquote. But the shift as a force of 0. Okay, sure. Like, no, just no. Okay, you know what? Next skill. Alright. Attack and defense plus 70%. Sprays super glue on up to 4 ground ties in front, dealing 50% of attack as physical damage every 0.7 seconds, and inflicting slow for 0.5 seconds. Alright, so it's pretty much like S2 Underflow in a way, because it slows, it inflicts damage over time. Sure, I guess. When other operators deal physical damage to enemies in the super glue, they inflict additional corrosion equal to 15% of Thumpy's attack. Ooh. Okay, so it kind of works a bit like Underflow, and also there's some kind of S3U shenanigans there where you your other operators inflict elemental injury. I mean, corrosion. Okay, sure. That seems pretty decent. Also, the range is 4 ground ties, so I assume it's pretty easy for your other operators to inflict elemental damage. Then, sure, okay. Alright, I kind of like this skill because, well, it gives a pretty good buff of attack and defense. It deals damage over time, it slows, it allows your other operators to inflict corrosion, and also particularly it has 23 SP cost, which is extremely low. It's extremely low, and it has 14 initial SP, 20 second duration. Yeah, that seems like a decent skill to me. That seems honestly pretty good. The elemental damage only works with physical damage, so you would have to pretty much create your team around her, so you wouldn't be able to make this work with your paramedics and stuff. But like, if it's every time they inflict damage and there's no cooldown in between attacks, you can pretty much pick a unit that has like a lot of attack speed or inflicts a lot of instances of damage in a single attack. So like everything named Wisider with S1 or S2, everything named Archetto, everything named Angelina Alter with S2 or S3 works. So yeah, also since the super glue is simply damage over time and doesn't have anything to do with ASPD, I assume this is a pretty good target with Angelina Alter S2. So you inflict the damage with over time with Thumpy, and then Angelina Alter S2 has a lot of ASPD and inflicts a lot of corrosion. Yeah, sure, okay. I can see this work. It's just a bit annoying that it's only when she deals physical damage that she inflicts corrosion and reduces the cooldown recovery of the target's corrosion. If it said something like the other operators in the 8 surrounding ties also reduce the target's corrosion, this would have been very good. In this case, I mean, sure, she will inflict physical damage every 0.5 seconds, is that it? Yeah, so I guess, sure, nah, it's pretty good. How long does it last? Okay, 20 seconds, so at most you will inflict 40 instances of damage. Let's say the corrosion is applied basically instantly. How long do you need to wait in order to inflict corrosion again? Corrosion lasts, what? I think it lasts 5 seconds or something? Hold up, I'm just checking. Ooh, 8 seconds. Ooh, that's actually pretty high. 8 seconds. So every time you inflict an instance of damage with this skill, you reduce the cooldown by 1 second. So if you wait 2 seconds, you will inflict 4 stacks. So that's 6 seconds total. Okay, so if you wait 3 seconds, you will reduce the cooldown by 6. And since you've already waited 3 seconds, that will be 9 seconds. Okay, so 3 seconds is enough to completely remove the corrosion cooldown. So in an ideal world, you are able to inflict corrosion 6 times with this skill, maybe even 7 times, I'm not sure, but like I would say 6 or 7, haha, 6 or 7 times corrosion with this skill. Alright, so that's actually pretty decent, because I just said before that you need to at least reduce the defense by 500. This reduced the defense by 6 times 120, which is 720 or 840. So actually pretty decent, I would say. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I wouldn't have expected that. So now the issue is that she needs to compete with Hoshiguma Alter, obviously, because, well, that's the golden standard of defenders in 2026. So it's pretty hard. Like, sure, you attack in multiple ground ties at the same time, but the issue is that you don't have as much range, you don't have any recovery actually, you don't have any self-healing and this kind of stuff, so yeah, it's pretty hard to justify it, I would say. But I haven't even talked about S3 yet, so S3, block count +2, attacks all blocked enemies, attack +100%, defense +135%, okay. Deploys a portable conveyor belt extending 4 ties forward. So yeah, I've seen some videos about this. Causing unblocked enemies with a weight of 4 or lower to move towards Thumpy at a speed of 0.8 ties per second. Enemies on the conveyor belt take 40% of attack as physical damage every second, and their defense additionally -30 when they trigger a corrosion burst. Oh, okay, so when they trigger a corrosion burst, the defense reduction goes to 150. They take 40% of attack as physical damage every second. I'm actually not sure I like this skill. So it says in the additional information that it works against invisible units, which is pretty good because it's pretty much an anti-invisible tool, which is very good. I feel like we need more anti-invisible tools. So it's decent, but there are many things that still are not that good with this unit. She doesn't have healing like Hoshiguma Alter. She doesn't have increased range, except if we count the conveyor belt as increased range. Like, sure, it's increased horizontal range, but she doesn't have any increased vertical range like Hoshiguma Alter. The SP cost is actually pretty high, like 42 and 55 SP cost. 42 initial. Yeah, I would say in terms of inflicting corrosion, it's actually not that good because the damage is only every second, while the S2 is every 0.5 seconds, so she will probably inflict more corrosion and more defense reduction this way. I'm not sure I like this skill. Like, honestly, I'm pretty sure I actually like S2 more. Between the very low SP recovery, the damage every 0.5 seconds, yeah, I would say it's a decent anti-invisible tool, right? If you somehow don't have your NS or your Silver Alter, you know, this kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm really not too fond of the skill. It doesn't have a lot of things. Like, it's quote-unquote anti-invisible. Block count is pretty much meaningless in IS. Okay, it could work, for example, against the fourth buffs, the fourth buffs of IS6. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Honestly, I don't really think I like this skill. There are other anti-invisible tools in IS in terms of defenders, like Jessica Alter. Do you want this instead of Jessica Alter? Probably. I would say it seems decent. Like the conveyor seems pretty interesting. I also really like the S2. I think the S2 is actually probably the best skill there. The increased attack and defense is okay-ish. Like, increased attack means she inflicts corrosion more, but it's not like you need to inflict corrosion more, because again, the S2 makes her so that other allies in range can also inflict corrosion, so why would you even want that in the first place? I'm really not sure I like this. Yeah, I'm really not feeling this S3, guys. I feel like the S2 is actually much better with the very low SP cost. The increased stats I don't think matter that much. The conveyor belt mechanic is pretty good against invisible enemies, but that's about it. And yeah, I think that's about it. I don't have anything to say there. Like, honestly, I don't think she will replace Hoshiguma Alter any soon. She could be a decent tool against some bosses, but at the same time, do you really want to recruit a defender against bosses? I mean, yeah, sure, a defender that can debuff, that's interesting. We don't have a lot of defenders that can debuff. Defenders are not used to debuff, usually. It's not really in the name, right? So let's put it this way. If you reach a boss, you feel like you have a lot of physical damage, but you want a debuffer and you don't have any debuffer. You can recruit her, and at E1, she's gonna have a skill that has like 14 initial SP, 27 SP cost, and that inflicts corrosion and, well, reduce the defense over and over and over. So it's a decent tool if you only want to recruit her last and want to debuff an enemy. I would say that's a decent tool, but I'm not feeling it regarding the conveyor belt. I'm not feeling it regarding the lack of self-heal, the lack of a vertical range increase, the lack of a lot of things compared to Hoshiguma Alter, I would say. So maybe a decent last pick if you desperately want some debuff. Otherwise, no. No. Alright, and we have the last two units, so the 5-star Mecha Cardcaster Timeslot. So talent is, let's see the module, she has a module. So attacks with drones deal less damage, drones deal more damage when it attacks the same enemy again, deals up to 110% of operator's attack as damage. Sure, attack plus 13%, drones attacks have a 15% chance to slow the target for 1.5 seconds. Ooh, a slow that lasts 1.5 seconds, that's actually a pretty high slow. 15% chance per each drone, I assume she gets more drones. Okay, that's actually not that bad. In terms of slow, it kind of reminds me of Golden Glow that can basically perma slow. It's not bad. It's actually not bad. So S1 is a simple attack up gamma, so let's not talk too much about this. And S2, 25 SP cost, 40 initial SP, lasts 40 seconds. Okay, so exactly 50% uptime. Drone plus 1, release drone to attack enemies, overload, stops attacking, attack plus 50% and attack speed plus 65. The drone locks onto an enemy until the enemy is defeated or until the skill is over, then returns to the operator. If the locked enemy leaves the user's attack range, immediately triggers overload. Ooh, immediately triggers overload. Okay. So the main issue is that you are never gonna trigger overload with this unit. That would mean you have to wait 80 seconds without using the skill, which seems like a complete waste. And all of this to get attack plus 50% and attack speed plus 65. And the base effect of the skill is only drone plus 1. 40 SP cost to have drone plus 1. Am I reading this correctly? 40 SP cost to have drone plus 1. Is that a joke or is that supposed to be a joke? Like what? That's so bad. That's insanely bad. What? Why? Huh? Okay, do we need to talk more about this? Alright, I'm re-recording the analysis of this unit because I seem to have completely misunderstood. If I understand correctly, the overload can trigger either manually or if you use the skill and an enemy unit leaves the range of this unit. Because I thought initially that if you don't have the SP to trigger the overload, it simply wouldn't trigger. So from what I understand, it will trigger even if the overload is not charged yet. So I don't know, 40 SP to trigger the overload is decent-ish, and you get a plus 50% attack and 65 ASPD. It's conditional, but I feel like the condition is extremely easy to fulfill because you simply have to target an enemy that is about to leave, and then you're not gonna do much to that enemy, but then you're gonna do a lot of damage to the subsequent enemies that are coming. I don't know, I feel like it's okay-ish, but the main issue is that the only thing she can do is she slows and deals damage. But the thing is, if you want CC, then you wouldn't pick her, you would pick, for example, Kira, and if you want damage, you probably want to pick either Minimalist or you would pick Rock. So I don't understand what the goal of this unit is. I feel like she's in this kind of weird in-between where she can both slow and deal damage, but at the same time there are other Mecha Cardcaster that are 3 or 4 years old that can do the same thing, so yeah. Yasinta is a standard bearer, so that's actually the first standard bearer since Wanxing, I think. So let's read the module. New trait, cannot block enemies during the skill duration, grants plus 1 block to an operator in front of this unit. When deployed, this unit and allies with the surrounding 8 ties gain 18 anti-air sanctuary. So they really want to push this anti-air sanctuary. That's actually weird because, well, it's not like there's a lot of drones that deal quite a lot of damage. I mean, sure, there's the target here, but like, is 18 anti-air sanctuary gonna cut it? I'm not sure. Also, it says this unit and allies with the surrounding 8 ties. Yeah, but if you're fighting targeteers, you don't want to put her near allies because otherwise they are all gonna get hit in the AoE, which is Alright, S1 is Classic Support Gamma, which is a really good skill, and S2 is Parasol's Shade. Stops attacking, recovers 27 DP, okay. During the skill duration, talent range expands and its effects is increased to 2 times. Okay, so up to, if you have pot 5, it's 40 entire sanctuary, okay. That's actually pretty high. Additionally, heals 1 allied operators in range for 25% of attack every second. Okay, so it's a bit like S2 Myrtle, but with added anti-air sanctuary. Is that good? Probably not. It's probably not that good. 27 DP is actually pretty high, but you need to wait 15 seconds, which
is really not ideal for a flag bearer. I mean, again, if you have a lot of initial SP items, then sure, like if you have a Bank of Gold's check, you only need to wait like 3 seconds. 3 seconds to have a skill that will net you 27 DP over the course of 30 seconds is decent, I would say. In this case, I would say healing plus 40 entire sanctuary can be useful, I would say, because, well, there's a way maybe you can resist the drone that hits you from afar, that is from Siege Alter's event in that one Remnant of Consciousness map. Sure, that could be useful in this case. It could be useful against targeteers because, well, the combo healing plus 40% entire sanctuary could be useful in this case. I don't know, I feel like this is a complete stretch, and overall this unit is probably not good enough. If we exclude the entire sanctuary, which is pretty fringe, it's just a Vanguard that heals, which is not something new. We already have Myrtle with this, that costs less hope, so yeah. Also Beanstalk quote-unquote heals. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. It's a decent unit. There's nothing wrong with this unit if you get her, for example, with a first class, or if you get her for free in a voucher. Sure, she could be useful. She's a pseudo hero, she generates DP. There's nothing wrong with this unit, but there's just other units that do her job but better, or that simply cost less hope in general. Like, again, Myrtle costs less hope, Beanstalk costs less hope, and also can deal damage, so why would you want her instead of Myrtle or Beanstalk? I'm not sure. You probably don't. If IS-7 emphasizes drones and drone damage, then sure, she could be useful. I can see her being slightly useful in IS-4 too, but again, she costs too much hope to justify the cost, I would say. Let's see in IS-7, but I don't see her with in IS-5 or 6. There's a slight with in IS-4 against, you know, the flying collapsals in that one stage where there's like 1 billion flying collapsal coming at you at Mach 5. Yeah, do you really want to recruit her only for this stage? Definitely not. She's okay, but like there's no way you're gonna pick her and justify her cost. Like, unless, again, IS-7 puts a lot of emphasis against drone units. No, definitely not. Alright, and last but not least, we're gonna talk about Famea's alpha module. So, the base trait is in integrated strategies, reduce DP cost by 50% on first deployment and redeploys immediately when defeated only once. So basically she has 2 health bars, which is somewhat useful. Like, you can use her as a baiting unit, and honestly that has a lot of applications, because there's that one stage where you want to deploy a unit to bait the attack of a targeteer, and in this case she could do the trick. And she only cost like something like 14 SP or something. I thought 14 DP or something. 29. So yeah, if you only have one dupe, she costs 14 DP to deploy, which is really not that high. So that's the base trait. And then when it's fully upgraded, continually loses HP over time. HP can drop to 0. When HP is above 50%, this unit gains vigor, increasing attack by 25%, so this is the base effect. This effect is double above 80% HP, I'm pretty sure this is the base effect as well. So, in integrated strategies, when Famea has vigor, so when she's above when she's above 50% HP, its attack buff is increased by 100%, okay? This unit's attack during a skill activation are duplicated in the range of the last deployed operator. Famea and the operator gain 30 attack speed. So basically she gains attack plus 50% when above 80% HP. No, when above 50% HP, and attack plus 100%, I assume, above 80% HP, because it's doubled from 25 and then doubled again, increased by 100%, so yeah, doubled again. So she has double the attack when above 80% HP. She also has 30 ASPD. She gives the last deployed operator 30 ASPD, and the last deployed operator will replicate the skill, which will usually be S3. And now, her and the last deployed operator, we will use S3. So the last deployed operator will replicate the S3 in their range, which is extremely funny to imagine. So there's something that is extremely good about this skill, is that it says the last deployed operator, so it doesn't have any limits. If you deploy another operator, it's gonna switch the target to this operator. So as long as you keep on deploying, for example, your gravel, you can choose where you're gonna use this skill. I've seen some videos with like S3 Bologna where the target keeps on shifting. I think it's a pretty good tech. I assume there's a lot of other applications like, again, gravel, for example, and a lot of stuff like that. Gravel is becoming the core part of a lot of IS modules. She's already the core part of Irene. She can also pretty much be the core part of Dusk, and now she's becoming becoming the core part of Fia meta as well. If you even want some range, I assume you can deploy like Kafka with S2 or something, like if you are mad enough to try that. But overall, I would say the simple fact that you can deploy a Gravel that's gonna deal so much damage, because again, that's the replication of Fia meta's S3 that will have double the damage, and with plus 30 ASPD, that's gonna be extremely strong. 30 ASPD is what? Like she has an attack interval of what with this 3? The attack interval is the regular attack interval. Okay, so that's 2.9, 2.8. Okay, so with 30 ASPD, that's like around 2 seconds. So your Gravel is gonna nuke the board every 2 seconds in front of her. Got it. So I've discussed with some people on my Discord, they think it's a fucking LOP, and I disagree with this. In my opinion, this seems extremely strong. Again, the second health bar can be used to bait enemies until you can deploy other operators. S3 can be charged with Archero. There's a lot of synergy with like Gravel that has a lot of synergy with other operators. There's obviously natural synergy with her and Archero. Archero is gonna charge her skill extremely fast. She's gonna increase the damage of S3 by 50%, and the S3 is already extremely strong. I don't know, I feel like when you add all these little details, she's gonna be extremely strong, but it seems like a lot of people on my Discord don't agree with this. There's something that is interesting to note with this, is that the unit that will get deployed will duplicate the skill. So they will duplicate the Fia meta skill, and Fia meta can inflict damage to aerial units. So that means that if you deploy a Gravel, the Gravel can inflict damage to aerial units, basically. I mean, through Fia meta, obviously, but they will inflict damage to aerial units. So you now have a way to inflict damage to aerial units with any melee unit, which I feel is already extremely strong. This is something that in the Remnant of Consciousness could be strong in so many maps that honestly I don't even think I can list them all. It can also be used to destroy statue guys extremely easily. It can be used to like inflict damage to the bear or the duck, a lot of damage to the bear when you simply like encounter it. You can tank with Gravel like 1 or 2 hits, and she's gonna inflict like 2 instances of damage from Fia meta. I don't know, in my opinion this seems extremely strong. This is extremely versatile too, because again it works on any redeployed operator. Like, how is that not good? Honestly, this seems so fucking powerful. I feel like this is already the highest module I am awaiting the most, even more than Typhon now, because this seems so versatile. Typhon's alpha module already seems very versatile, but this seems on another level, honestly. I just want to nuke aerial units with my Gravel. This seems so fucking fun. I think there's a squad where you can recruit a sniper and a specialist, I'm pretty sure, yeah? So you can already do that from the beginning. So yeah, I feel like this module has the potential to be extremely strong, extremely versatile, and I actually can't wait to try this. You can also use this, for example, to attack the new animal enemy, the dragon, in I6. I don't know. In my opinion, this seems extremely strong, and this has so many applications that it's honestly hard to list them all. So yeah, I would assume this thing is gonna be meta for sure. Fia meta, haha, got it. Anyway, and yeah, I actually can't wait to try this. Honestly, I really like the fact that they are making IS modules either very versatile or working with other alpha IS modules. Like, I really like this. I really like that they are both pushing a meta, like the levitate meta and stuff, and also making them very versatile. We already saw that with a Typhon that works with anything with a slow or stun. We already saw that with Dusk that works with any operator that is deployed and with their first attack. So yeah, really like this module. Can't wait to try it and prove anyone that thinks this is a bad module wrong. So anyway guys, sorry for the extremely high delay for this analysis. Since these have already been released, of course what I'm saying is a bit biased and also is a bit pointless compared to what I usually do, but I still felt it was important to make this video. So anyway, if you liked it, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.